He emerged from a divided Northern Ireland where identity was never neutral and silence often meant safety. Born William John Neeson on June 7, 1952, in Ballymena, County Antrim, he grew up in a town defined less by opportunity than by restraint. Ballymena was not picturesque myth, but an industrial reality shaped by Protestant majority culture and the quiet marginalization of Catholic families like his own. His father, Bernard, worked as a school caretaker, steady and reserved, while his mother, Kitty, worked in a school kitchen, offering warmth grounded in faith and routine. Together, they raised 4 children in a modest home where discipline mattered more than comfort. In this environment, survival meant blending in, avoiding conflict, and learning early that belonging could be conditional. From these quiet constraints, a boy would grow who would later become one of cinema's most recognizable figures, though nothing in his earliest years suggested such a path. Childhood in a divided town growing up in Ballymena during the 1950s and 1960s meant living inside invisible boundaries that shaped every movement. The troubles had not fully erupted yet, but the tension was already embedded in daily life. Catholic children like him learned which streets to avoid and which conversations to keep short. There was no dramatic rupture, only a constant awareness of difference. He was a tall, awkward child, physically imposing even before adolescence, which made him both visible and vulnerable. That physical presence sometimes drew unwanted attention, yet it also hinted at a different future. In a town where emotional expression was often restrained, he absorbed the quiet lessons of observation and caution. The environment did not encourage ambition, it encouraged endurance. Still, beneath the surface of ordinary routines, something restless formed in him, a need to move beyond the limits of geography and expectation, even if he did not yet know how. Discipline forged in the boxing ring at 9 years old, he entered the Emerald Amateur Boxing Club, and the sport quickly became a structure for a life that otherwise felt unanchored. Boxing offered rules that were clear and consequences that were immediate. It demanded control over fear, breath, and movement, turning physicality into discipline. For a tall boy still growing into his body, the ring became a place where size was not awkward but useful. He trained seriously, developing both skill and regional recognition as an amateur fighter. The sport did not romanticize violence for him. Instead, it taught restraint. Every punch held was as important as every punch thrown. Outside the gym, life remained shaped by sectarian tension and quiet caution, but inside it, he discovered focus. Boxing did not promise escape, but it offered structure, and in that structure he learned the earliest version of presence, endurance, and control that would later define his performances on screen. The unexpected arrival of performance school life at St. Patrick's and later Ballymena Secondary offered little encouragement for creative expression. He was not an academic standout, but neither was he disengaged. He simply did not fit neatly into systems that valued memorization over intuition. Teachers often overlooked him, and assessment structures failed to recognize the kind of intelligence he carried. Everything shifted when a drama teacher, Mr. Clement McCloskey, introduced him to school theater. He was given a role almost casually, yet stepping onto the stage created an unexpected transformation. Unlike boxing, which required containment, acting demanded openness. It required him to reveal rather than conceal. On stage, he discovered the possibility of becoming someone else entirely without losing himself. What began as a school activity became a quiet revelation. Drama was not a planned career direction, but a place where instinct finally had room to expand, offering him a language he did not know he had been searching for. Work duty and the pull of Belfast at 17, He left school and entered the workforce at the Guinness Brewery in Belfast as a forklift operator. It was practical work, steady, and respected in the world he came from, and it reflected the expectations of his family. Later, he attempted to train as a teacher at St. Mary's College in Belfast, a path that also aligned with stability and service. But Belfast during the early 1970s was a city shaped by escalating conflict. The Troubles were no longer distant tension but visible reality marked by violence, checkpoints, and uncertainty. Amid this environment, he felt an increasing pull towards something less defined but more compelling. Teaching did not satisfy that internal shift. Instead, he gravitated toward the lyric theater, where observation became apprenticeship. In a city where daily life was marked by disruption, the theater offered an unusual kind of continuity. The lyric theater and First Foundations joining the lyric theater in 1976 marked his first real step into professional performance. The company was modest, operating in a Belfast where external violence sometimes echoed close to rehearsal spaces. Yet within its walls, structure and creativity coexisted. He was not immediately a leading figure. Instead, he learned by watching, absorbing the rhythms of stagecraft. Directors quickly noticed his stillness, a quality that distinguished him from more expressive performers. He did not seek attention, but held it naturally. The discipline he had learned in boxing translated into stage presence, where restraint often carried more weight than movement. Over 2 years, he developed technical skill, breath control, timing, and spatial awareness while refining instinct. The lyric did not transform him overnight, but it provided foundation. It was here that performance stopped being experimentation and began becoming identity, shaped by patience rather than ambition. The Abbey Theatre and first screen attention in 1978, he moved to Dublin's Abbey Theatre, a significant step for any Irish actor seeking serious recognition. The institution carried historical and cultural weight, representing both tradition and artistic seriousness. There, he performed works ranging from Irish playwrights to European classics, developing a reputation for emotional restraint and authenticity. He did not dramatize feeling. He revealed it in controlled, deliberate ways. His approach attracted attention from directors who valued subtlety over theatrical excess. That attention eventually led to film casting, most notably in John Boorman's Excalibur, in 1981, where he played a supporting role. Though not a lead, the performance placed him on the radar of filmmakers. It was not immediate fame, but it was visibility. The transition from stage to screen began not through ambition, but through observation, discipline, and the quiet magnetism he brought to every role. Early film years and uncertain momentum, the early 1980s, brought a series of film roles that kept him steadily employed, but not yet widely recognized. Projects like The Bounty and other international productions placed him alongside established actors, yet he often remained in supporting positions. There was respect for his craft, but not yet public identification with his name. This period represented a familiar stage in many acting careers, consistent work without clear breakthrough. Directors valued his reliability and depth, but mainstream recognition remained elusive. He was often described as the actor other performers noticed during playback, the one whose presence lingered even in limited screen time. Despite this, uncertainty remained part of his professional life. The challenge was not talent, but visibility, the gap between being respected within the industry and being known beyond it. Love, Loss, and a Life, rewritten in the late 1980s, while performing in Broadway's Anna Christie, he met actress Natasha Richardson. What began as a professional collaboration developed into a profound personal relationship. Their connection was immediate but not theatrical. It was grounded in shared understanding of performance and life within the arts. They married in 1994 and built a family together, raising 2 sons. Their partnership became central to his emotional world. That stability was later shattered in 2009 when Richardson died suddenly following a skiing accident. The loss reshaped his life permanently. He continued working, but grief became an underlying presence in both his personal and professional identity. It was not something resolved, but something integrated, altering how he spoke about love, time, and vulnerability in ways that remained deeply personal and enduring. Recognition, action films, and reinvention by the 1990s and early 2000s. His career shifted unexpectedly toward action cinema. What followed was a late but powerful reinvention, beginning with films like Taken, which transformed him into a global action figure in his 50s. The roles were physically demanding and contrasted sharply with his earlier dramatic work, yet they carried the same emotional seriousness. He did not treat action as spectacle alone, but as character-driven intensity. Audiences responded to the combination of authority and vulnerability he brought to these roles. Despite the genre shift, he maintained a reputation for discipline and professionalism. This phase of his career demonstrated adaptability rather than reinvention for its own sake. It reflected an actor capable of evolving without abandoning the emotional foundations established decades earlier on stage in Ireland. Later years, family, and perspective, as he entered his 70s, his career pace slowed, shifting towards selective projects and smaller productions. He expressed interest in returning to theater and character-focused work, valuing depth over scale. His sons became central to his life, with his older son building a career in acting while his younger son chose a more private path. He remained deeply connected to family, treating that role with the same seriousness as his professional work. He also engaged in philanthropy, supporting arts education and conflict resolution initiatives, particularly in Ireland. These efforts reflected continuity with his upbringing, linking childhood experiences of division with later commitments to opportunity and reconciliation. Age brought physical change, but not disengagement. He continued working with intention, prioritizing meaning over momentum and presence over visibility. Endurance, identity, and what defines his life is not fame alone, but continuity through change. From a divided childhood in Ballymena to international recognition, his path was shaped by persistence rather than planning. He never moved through life as if certainty existed. Instead, he adapted to circumstance, carrying grief, discipline, and responsibility through each stage. His career spans theater, film, action cinema, and personal tragedy, yet remains unified by a consistent emotional honesty. He has never fully separated work from lived experience, allowing one to inform the other. What remains is not mythology, but something quieter, a life marked by endurance, shaped by love and loss, and defined by an ongoing willingness to continue. In that sense, his story is not exceptional because of fame, but because it reflects the steady human act of moving forward despite uncertainty, carrying memory without being consumed by it.